Today is the 7th of February, and tonight Guildford Shakespeare Company has its press night of Richard II. And the press night is a really important performance. It's where the press comes to see and review the production. It's where we have VIPs and dignitaries and guests visiting, and also it's where the play gets locked in and nothing changes from this point forward. But the 7th of February is also a very important one for the play itself. In 1599, the Earl of Essex commissioned Shakespeare's company, the Lord Chamberlain's men, to stage a very special performance of this play. Now, why did he do that? Well, the Earl of Essex was a former favourite of Queen Elizabeth I, and he was out of favour. He believed that the Queen was being surrounded by poor counsellors, giving her bad advice. And at this point, remember, Elizabeth has not yet named a successor. So all of these nobles and courtiers and their families are all trying to manoeuvre themselves around the Queen to give her the best counsel, so perhaps that they will have the heir that they might be wanting to support put in line. So the Earl of Essex wants to do something about this and feels that he's not at the table either and wants to be back at court. So he decides that he's going to stage an uprising, not against the Queen, but against those courtiers. And to spark it off, he engages Shakespeare's company to stage Richard II. But why this play? Well, Richard II is about a king who has no heir. It also has a central argument of the divine right of the monarch against the growing power of Parliament in terms of deciding state policy. But perhaps crucially, it also contains a scene that in itself, in its day, was so controversial that it was removed from publication. And this is the deposition scene, where Henry Bolingbroke takes the crown from Richard. In fact, it wasn't included in publications of the play until 1608, some 5 years after the Queen's death. But Essex clearly knew the potency of this particular play and, of course, theatre. Now, the uprising came to nothing. The next day, after the performance, Essex was arrested. Shakespeare's company, well, they were giving a little telling off, but they still managed to keep their 40 shillings that they were paid for the performance. And in fact, the night before Essex's execution, on the 25th of February, they were invited by Elizabeth to court to do some performances. So, the 7th of February, an important, auspicious date in the history of Richard II, but also for Guildford Shakespeare Company. But if I was being asked to perform in the open air at this time of the year, I think I'd want a little bit more than 40 shillings.